So 2022, End of the Ocean. So 3 singles, Tarantino, End of the Ocean, Put the Devil on It. I'd like you to take a little bit of time to talk about the recording of this. This is a pandemic album. This is a challenging album, and then we can dive into the results after that.
Okay, so we actually started recording it as we did Glory, getting together in Revolution recording in Toronto all together. And a lot of what made the record did come from those sessions. But all the overdubbing, basically the pandemic was declared when we were in Revolution. So Mark basically said, let's get together in a couple of weeks when this is all over. And we know how that turned out. So the room that I'm talking to you from is where I did a lot of my recording, vocals, a little bit of trumpet, all the keys. But we also had a bunch of keys and a bunch of other stuff that Mark wove together from the sessions. But it was, bar none, my least favorite recording experience is to record alone. We very much feed off each other and act as a filter. I'm very much a kitchen sink guy. Like I haven't met a sound that I don't want to put on top of another sound in a song, and I have to be reined in. I have to be brought back and said enough. So not being able to do that in real time with the guys, on the one hand, it's not as fun. On the other hand, it allowed each of us to explore things that we wouldn't have explored before. And I think that's where some of the magic of this last record, for me anyway, comes from being surprised by something that I didn't hear in real time. Jeff sent it to me and said, what do you think of this? What can you do with this? You know, or David saying, hey, but how about you play this here? You know, I mean, it was, we were able to go down individual rabbit holes, which I think particularly for vocals was fascinating.
So my 3 favorite songs on the album are Party's Over, so not a single. So Party's Over, Tarantino, and End of the Ocean. I find that Party's Over, the chorus just like explodes at you. Like it's one of the best choruses on the album. And I mentioned before, I had this album in my top 9 albums of 2022, the year it was released. And I'm going to make a bold statement, okay? I'm going to make a bold statement. I believe this is the band's second best album, just behind Creature. Kevin, am I crazy? Am I crazy, or is this one of the band's best albums?
Absolute batshit. Absolute batshit crazy. No, no, I don't know. Are you crazy? I wouldn't say it's the record that most people would say that about. I don't know where it fits in for me. But, you know, I'm a guy who, there are records that have been huge records for bands. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. But I prefer this one. It's a very individual thing, you know. What resonates with someone at a given time is, it cannot be predicted. So no, you're not crazy. Very nice to hear, because you want people to like your late career work, or let's call it mid-career work, as much as they did your earlier stuff.
Well, I might be crazy. I'm not certified yet, but we're working towards it. So the pandemic decimated all these different industries, and the music industry, the live event industry, was hit harder than almost any other industry. How did the pandemic affect your life? So we already talked about how it shifted how you were able to record the new album, but outside of that, how did the pandemic affect you, and how did you adapt your life and your career to the last 2 or 3 years?
Well, one of the things for me, knowing that there wouldn't be gigs, first of all, I said to my wife at one point, this will have, about 6 months in to the pandemic, I said, this will have been the longest time that I have not been playing some form of live show since I was about 9 years old. So that was really odd. As you know, as I mentioned, I'm a freelance writer. I thought, no problem. You know, there'll be lots to write about. Immediately writing, because I was writing a lot about audio, that started to tank as well. That came back very quickly. Really, I could go on about what I learned over the pandemic, what I did over the pandemic, but one of the things that became valuable for me actually as a musician is that I started to play for fun again.
Mm.
Now, I always played a bit for fun, but I had more time on my hands. And after the album was recorded, which took a lot of time, after the album was recorded, I was all geared up. I wanted to play. I wanted to go out. I wanted to do what we always do. And I couldn't. So I sat at home and played whatever I felt like, learned songs that I'd always wanted to learn. Old stuff from my studying classical music days, some jazz standards, some bits that, just pick a song a day and go after it. I learned the value of music, not only having lost the ability to go out and play and be with my friends who I work with and meet all the people who come to see us and have that wonderful live experience, but I learned the value of music for me as something to keep me on an even keel, and something that will always, regardless of whether I'm playing in a band or what I'm doing, will always be something that I can go to, a place where I have a home, just me sitting in front of a keyboard going, I wonder how I can get this done.
You say you're an amateur photographer, but some of your pictures ended up as a part of the artwork for the new album. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. So we went through getting any artwork done or frankly t-shirts done from Moist is, because we're all so involved in every element of the creative process, is difficult. But I just floated this picture that seemed to capture what we were talking about in terms of there being a focus on the record of this damage that we're doing to ourselves and to our environment and our world on small scale and large scale, small scale and large scale ways. And it was just this picture I'd taken of a seascape through a dirty ferry window at some point. And that was really rewarding. That again, just another thing to dabble in, another creative element. Like I say, like making my own t-shirt or finding some way to take one idea and turn it into something that fires some creative force in me.